Leader of the line, Archer. Ready? Thomas's driver had a stopwatch in his hand. Thomas's friends, Percy, James, and Duck, stared at the lockboxes right in front of them, in front of the metal turntable. Their code-cracking drills had become very competitive. Set, go! Today's my day, fellas, Percy shouted as he keyed in numbers. You wish, James replied. I got, Duck started. Zip, zip. Duck was interrupted by a chrome arrow flashing through the air. It pinned him by his running board to the walls. What the? By the time Thomas noticed the engine with that red coat of paintwork shoved in a Tidmouth sheds, he was pinned to the wall himself, along with Percy and James.
Wow, you guys are really slacking,
the engine said. You! Thomas said angrily. You've been following me!
Is that any way to talk to the person who saved your friends from getting run over by a train?
Who are you? Percy asked, confused. Name's Rosie.
Oh, for a group of master thieves famous for taking down bad guys to help the innocent, you are very easy to sneak up on.
Thomas scoffed. Hey, just because you... Before Thomas could say anything else, Rosie dashed over to them, grabbing the arrows, and ran for the switch. Rosie locked eyes with Thomas before leaving.
Meet me by the park entrance at noon. I'll show you how to up your game.
Chapter 2, New Tricks. Thomas was still fuming on the way to the park. Who did Rosie think she was playing games with Thomas like this? Slacking. I'll show her slacking, Thomas mumbled to himself. He huffed hard all the way to the park. Everywhere on the island he went, Rosie was nowhere to be seen.
Think fast.
Thomas heard a voice. It belonged to Rosie. Rosie somehow managed to leap out of a nearby tree and was gonna go in front of Thomas. Not this time. Thomas was rolling Rosie over his boiler. Rosie jumped up and fell. Thomas was in pain, but Rosie was back up in a flash.
Ouch. You were quicker that time, but you could stand to learn some new tricks.
Thomas frowned at Rosie. I'm confused. Do you want to fight me or help me? Rosie laughed.
I think we could help each other. I'll teach you how to use my arrows if you help me with code cracking.
Thomas eyed Rosie's sleek arrows and bow. It wouldn't hurt to learn something new. While they were on their way to the woods, Thomas was thinking. After talking to Rosie, Thomas kind of sort of remembered something. Have we met before? Thomas questioned Rosie. Yes, we have. Don't you remember? When I first came to Sodor, I talked to you, and we played a lot for the next 6 years. After that, I wasn't needed here for a while. I only came to Sodor every once a year. And during that time span, I got a new paint job. Oh, so that's why I didn't remember you. You looked different. Rosie seemed to read Thomas's thoughts.
Come on.
For some reason, it turns out the woods was actually unsuitable for anyone to go there, so instead they went to the top of Gordon's Hill. Away from Gordon's Hill, there was another hill, and a turquoise bullseye target that was extremely small to aim was there.
This is where I practice. Here.
The bow and arrow were laying on the ground, so Thomas grabbed it. But he held them awkwardly. But Rosie helped Thomas adjust his stance and grip. Thomas gave it a few tries. He never aimed it, but he did feel more comfortable. Just then, a truck appeared in Thomas's sight, and on the back of it there was a note from Percy. It said, "Everything okay? Almost time for our work. Rosie, I gotta go. But come to the sheds later if you're up for some code cracking. Chup Deer 3. SOS." Thomas paced the turntable of Tidmouth Sheds. During his work, he had been too distracted thinking about archery. He didn't even think or even notice a pickpocket until his friend started running after him. "Shake it off, Thomas," he said to himself. "No more slacking." A loud scream came from outside of the sheds. Thomas rushed near the sheds to see what was going on. Thomas immediately noticed Rosie's bow and arrows lying on the ground. Right there! Up above, Doug noticed that 4 diesels were catching Rosie. So they all went out of the sheds, one by one. "Let's go." Thomas scooped up the bow and arrow and headed out. Chapter 4. Netted. "Thomas, we're going up," James said. Thomas's friends were going up the steep hill, while Thomas was going up the other way. From above, the pack could see where the group was headed. "Left," Percy said, and Thomas went left. Thomas was finally gaining up on Rosie's captors. He was at the top of the hill, and in the exact same direction where the diesels were capturing Rosie. Just then, Thomas noticed something on the bow and arrow. It looked like a net, so he clicked it. The bow and net shot into the air and landed on top of the group. Thomas cringed at his clumsy aim, but the net captured the group and everyone else in it, except Rosie. "Don't let her get away!" one of the diesels yelled. But Rosie had already maneuvered out from beneath the net. There was no way the diesels could move now. They all had already coincidentally ran out of fuel. "Who are those people?" Thomas asked Rosie.
"A new group of rookie thieves. I've stopped a few of their attempted robberies, but when 4 ambush 1, I guess the odds are not in my favor."
"I used to think I could go it alone," Thomas confessed. "But you need people to have your back. You can join our crew if you wanted."
"Really?"
Rosie looked surprised and excited. "Of course! How will I get better at archery without you around?" Thomas winked.
"That's a good point,"
Rosie replied. "Friends again?" Thomas held out his hand to shake on it. Rosie smiled wide as she took Thomas's hand.
"Friends."
Well, that's it. I hope you guys like this 4-part series, and I hope you watch this again. And I hope you watch my videos again. See you next time.